Why did they kill Gaddafi? And how does it relate to other events that are unfolding in our world? I think it's important to study what's going on because, these people have been very strategic. And when I say these people, I mean central bankers, the United States government, the cabal, whoever you want to call them, the deep state. They've been very strategic in what they're doing, and it's important to study what they've done so we can get an understanding of what their plan is. As you know, I mean, things are in play, and we need to be very aware of what's happening. So I'm going to dive into this story here, talk about it, comment it, share insights and ideas that I've picked up in other places. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up. I would appreciate it, and subscribe to my channel if you're so inclined, and also follow on social media anywhere at gmarkphillips. All right, let's jump in. This is an article on LinkedIn, Why They Killed Gaddafi, a story you must read. What a great title. I will read it. Published in January 6th, 2017. On October 20th, 2011, Libya's Muammar al-Gaddafi was brutally murdered by the mob of NATO-backed rebels after first being beaten and violated in the most barbaric fashion. Remember that? Horrific death. History leaves no doubt that not only was the Libyan leader murdered on this day, but Libya itself. The regime change crew who dominate Western governments have a long indictment sheet against their names. Since 9/11, they have wrought havoc and human misery on a grand scale in their determination to reshape and own a world that has never been theirs to own. That is a fantastic sentence, a fantastic way to put it. Remember, based on information from the Watson Institute Cost of War Project, they have unalived 4.5 million. The West has unalived 4.5 million directly or indirectly in places like Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, Somalia. Horrific. This is why I speak out about it, because I'm a human being and we're all connected, and how they treat other people is how they're going to treat us. What they do to those people is what they're going to do to us. My feeling is this. They're taking out, well, we know, we'll get into this in the article. I'm sure this article will touch on it. We know everything they do is to secure the petrodollar, to keep the dollar in its standing as the world's reserve currency. We know it's all about money. It's never about democracy. These people are criminals of the highest order, committing crimes against humanity all around the globe. And many people, including myself, are over it. And if you follow Abby Martin, phenomenal human being, talking about primarily she talks about all of the stuff. This is where I learned a lot of my stuff from her. She talks about what's happening in Gaza and has the documentary about the Gaza, basically an open air concentration prison camp. She's phenomenal. I get a lot of information from her. But let's continue. Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, currently embroiled in a pitiless conflict for its survival as a secular, non-sectarian state. This is the miserable legacy of nations which speak the language of democracy while practicing the politics of domination. 100%. I already like this guy or this gal. Antonis V. calls himself a researcher. It's jiving with what I've found too. The United States is all about preaching democracy and, freedom. And meanwhile, we go in and kill or unalive 200,000 to 600,000 Iraqi civilians. That's bullshit. And then not to mention what we did in Afghanistan, where for 20 years, we convinced the Afghani people to be on our side. We got your back, team up with us, be our teammates in this. And then we leave them high and dry, and all of them had to go into hiding. Remember when we pulled out of Afghanistan very abruptly? We didn't give two shits about the people that were helping us fight the Taliban. Who even really knows if the Taliban is really an enemy, right? You can't believe anything coming out of Western media at all. Of the aforementioned victims of Western imperialism, there is a strong argument to be made that Libya's destruction constitutes an especially grievous crime. After all, in 2010, the year before it experienced its revolution, the United Nations Development Program considered Libya a high development country in the Middle East and North Africa. In concrete terms, this status translates to a literacy rate of 88.4% and life expectancy of 74.5 years, gender equality, and various other positive indicators. In addition, Libya enjoyed a 4.2% economic growth in 2010 and could boast of foreign assets in excess of 150 billion. Sounds pretty good to me. There is currently no single government or authority in Libya whose writ runs in the entire country. Instead, 3 competing authorities control their own fiefdoms. The internationally recognized government is the Government of the National Accord, GNC, led by Fayez al-Sarraj, is based in the capital Tripoli. There is also Government of National Salvation, led by Khalifa Guel, which is also based in Tripoli. The third center of power, meanwhile, is located in Tobruk, in the east of the country. It is headed by an anti-Islamist General Khalifa Haftar, who leads the Libyan National Army, LNA. Economically, oil revenues, responsible for 90% of revenue under Gaddafi, have halved. Violence is widespread, and since 2011, Daesh has managed to gain a foothold, although in recent months the terrorist organization has come under high pressure in its stronghold of Sirte from forces representing the GNC. So 90% of revenue under Gaddafi has been cut in half. That's certainly got to impact the economic situation for Libyans for sure. The impact of the chaos has engulfed the country since Gaddafi was overthrown and murdered can be measured by the flood of Libyans who have attempted the perilous journey across the Mediterranean with the object of reaching Europe. In the process, untold thousands have perished. See, here's the thing we have to keep in mind. I'm not saying Gaddafi was a good guy. What I am saying is that going into a country and unaliving its leader because the International Monetary Fund or the global central bankers said, go take care of that guy. He's trying to undermine the dollar, the petrodollar, the dollar reserve currency. That's evil. That's evil. Bad news bears. And this is why, I urge people to investigate and look into it. Again, yes, I'm concerned about all of humanity, but I'm also a human being myself, and I don't want to have bad things happen to me. And I'm sure you don't want to have bad things happen to you. The reality is our government is criminals. They've committed crimes against humanity for a long time. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that other governments and leaders haven't done that as well. What I am saying is I live in America and I'm investigating, right? Again, it's time to wake up. It's time to open our eyes because I feel we're almost to endgame, to be quite honest. What could be considered endgame? The corruption in our country and the world can no longer go on. I'm over it. Let's see where we're at here. So many people perish trying to cross the Mediterranean. Abby Martin calls that the largest graveyard in the world. Let's continue. UN Secretary Council Resolution 1973, passed in March 2011, marked the end of the Arab Spring and the beginning of the Arab Winter. I haven't heard that term, Arab Winter. The mass and popular demonstrations that succeeded in toppling Tunisian dictator Ben Ali and his Egyptian counterpart Hosni Mubarak were not replicated in Libya. Instead, in Benghazi, where the anti-Gaddafi movement was centered, Islamists predominated. There was no nationwide mass movement in Libya, such as those that swept across Tunisia and Egypt, and no popular support for toppling a government and leader who presided over a society that enjoyed the highest standard of living in any African country. See, that's what's heartbreaking. That's what's no bueno, right? Wow. I also have heard rumors or information about Gaddafi building a water system that would have brought water to many parts of Libya, like basically economic viability and farming, etc. In my understanding, again, fact check me on this. I will try to find it in an article. My understanding is the U.S. did away with that. That's some straight up bullshit. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all. Right. Let's continue. Loyalist Gaddafi forces were defeated by NATO, not the opposition forces emanating from Benghazi. Indeed, it was at the point at which the country's armed forces were approaching Benghazi, preparatory to crushing the uprising, when NATO intervened, based on the lie of protecting civilians, when in truth it was intent on regime change. I don't doubt it. Remember when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was talking about Victoria Nuland's hand in shaping Ukraine and putting in, shaping the government of Ukraine and doing things that would be beneficial to the United States. See, and it doesn't pleasure me to say this, but the United States government are a-holes of the highest order. Again, I don't know much about the other governments. I'm learning as I go. But as far as being the biggest a-hole in the world, that's the United States government. That's based on, hours and hours of research studying what happened in Iraq, what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Haiti, what happened in Ukraine. It's wild. And here's a picture of gold. And I also hear rumors that the U.S. steals all the gold in these places. Like they're robber barons from what I can see. Again, I'm not saying the other countries don't do it either, but we're supposed to be the good guys, aren't we? So here's a picture of a bunch of gold. According to the World Gold Council statistics for August 2011, Libya gold reserves are about 143.8 tons, equivalent to 5.6% of the total world gold reserves. Gaddafi's crimes in the eyes of the West was not that he was an authoritarian dictator. How could it be when their closest ally in the region is Saudi Arabia, right? Remember when that journalist, was it Pigoshi? I can't remember his name. Remember what they did to that guy? Horrific. His crime in their eyes, it was revealed in the tranche of classified Clinton emails released by WikiLeaks in January of this year, was his intention of establishing a gold-backed currency to compete with the euro and the dollar as an international reserve currency in Africa. See, there it is. It's always about money. And this is why it's so wild to me, why people still think government's there to help you. Whether they say they're going to help you be healthier or wealthier or more successful, they don't give a shit about any of those things. It's always money. It's the age-old thing, right? What's the answer to the question that we all are wondering? Like, it's money. It's usually always about money. International reserve currency in Africa. Okay, in this regard, the then French President Nicolas Sarkozy and then U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, working for the globalist banker and oil cabal, were key actors in pushing for NATO intervention. Libyan oil and gold was also a factor. Let's see if we can zoom in on this and see I can't read that. Maybe we can. WikiLeaks. From probably Hillary Clinton to someone in state gov. Do you suffer from decision fatigue? Worth a read. Wow, that is spooky descriptive. I don't know. That might not be. All right, let's continue. The classified emails prove beyond any doubt that what took place in Libya was a monstrous crime for which those responsible have yet to be held accountable. But we saw both Sarkozy's and Hillary Clinton's scandals was their demise. But we saw that both Sarkozy and Hillary Clinton's scandals was their demise and ultimate rejection to their political ambition. In Hillary's case, she was rejected by the American people against all odds. Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States. Be that as it may, you know how I feel about Trump. I'm skeptical of that guy too. Of the two, it is Clinton who was filmed clapping her hands and laughing at the news of Muammar Gaddafi's murder in 2011. It is Clinton who pressed for the military intervention that ended in Libya's destruction. And it is Hillary Clinton who has the gall to present herself as a moral giant in comparison to her rival during her campaign for the U.S. presidency. A lot of people criticized my prediction when I stated in few of my articles that Donald Trump is going to win the U.S. presidential election against the hyped Hillary Clinton. Hillary and her backers know that you can't carry so much garbage and don't expect to sink. The problem with politics, just as in life, when you are exposed to garbage day in day out, you get used to the smell. Amen to that. That's a pretty good article. That person didn't pull any punches. I like this hashtag fight against multicultural Marxism. We like that one, don't we? We know that Marxism is seeking to undermine the West. That was a good article. All right. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Leave me a thumbs up if you like it. And until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Have an awesome day.